The rain
You
hammered
gave my
against the
daughter a
bus shelter
miracle.
where Marcus Chen stood with his 6-year-old daughter, Lily, pressed against his side. His worn jacket did little against the November cold, but he wrapped it tighter around her anyway. They'd been waiting 40 minutes, the bus was late again. Marcus checked his phone, 6:47 p.m. If they didn't get home soon, he'd miss putting Lily to bed at a decent hour, and tomorrow's early shift at the warehouse would be even more brutal. That's when he heard it, a sound that cut through the rain like broken glass. Crying. Not the ordinary crying of a frustrated child, but the desperate, terrified sobs of someone in genuine distress. Marcus turned to see a sleek black Mercedes pulled halfway onto the curb, hazard lights flashing. A woman in an expensive coat was struggling with a wheelchair, trying to unfold it with shaking hands while a young girl, maybe 8 or 9, sat awkwardly on the wet ground beside the car, her legs twisted at unnatural angles. The girl was sobbing, her face contorted in pain and fear. "Mommy, it hurts. It hurts so much." The woman's voice cracked as she fumbled with the wheelchair's mechanism. "I know, baby, I know. Just hold on. Mommy's trying." Her words dissolved into panicked breaths. The wheelchair wouldn't open. Something was jammed. Marcus didn't think. He just moved. "Lily, stay right here under the shelter, okay? Don't move." He kissed the top of her head and jogged across the street. "Ma'am, can I help?" The woman looked up, and Marcus saw her face was streaked with tears and rain. Her makeup had run, and her hands were trembling so badly she could barely grip the wheelchair. I can't get it to work. My daughter fell, and I think she's broken something, and I can't." Her voice broke completely. Marcus knelt beside the wheelchair, examining it quickly. The locking mechanism had bent, probably from being forced into the trunk wrong. "It's okay. We'll figure this out." He looked at the girl on the ground. She was wearing a beautiful velvet dress, now soaked and muddy, and her face was pale with pain. Her left leg was definitely broken. Marcus had seen enough injuries working construction before the warehouse to recognize the signs. "Hey there," he said gently to the girl. "I'm Marcus. What's your name?" "Sophie," she managed between sobs. "Sophie, that's a beautiful name. Listen, I'm going to help your mom get you somewhere safe and dry, okay? But I need you to be really brave for just a few more minutes. Can you do that for me?" Sophie nodded, her lower lip trembling. Marcus turned to the mother. "The wheelchair's broken. We need to get her out of the rain and somewhere we can call an ambulance. There's a coffee shop 2 blocks down that's still open. I can carry her if you're okay with that." The woman stared at him for a moment, and Marcus saw the calculation in her eyes, the fear of trusting a stranger warring with desperation. Then Sophie whimpered in pain, and the decision was made. "Please," the woman whispered. "Please help her." Marcus carefully scooped Sophie into his arms, cradling her like he did Lily when she had nightmares. The girl was light, too light for her age, and he could feel her trembling. "You're doing great, Sophie. We're going to walk nice and slow, okay?" He looked back at Lily, still standing obediently under the bus shelter. His heart squeezed. "Lily, come on, honey. Stay close to me." His daughter splashed through puddles to reach him, her small hand gripping his jacket. The mother locked her car with shaking fingers and followed as Marcus led them down the street. Sophie clutched against his chest, murmuring reassurances to her the whole way. Inside the coffee shop, Marcus gently laid Sophie on a cushioned bench. The barista immediately called 911 while Marcus knelt beside her, keeping her talking, keeping her calm. The mother collapsed into a chair, phone in hand, making frantic calls. "You're doing so good, Sophie," Marcus said. "Tell me about that pretty dress. Is it your favorite?" It was for my birthday party," Sophie managed. We were going to the restaurant. Then Mommy's phone rang and she stopped fast and I fell out of my chair in the car." Lily crept closer, fascinated. "I'm 6. How old are you?" 8, Sophie said, sniffling. "Today. It's your birthday." Lily's eyes went wide. She dug into her little backpack and pulled out a crumpled drawing she'd made at school, a rainbow with stick figures beneath it. "You can have this. Daddy says rainbows are good luck." Sophie took the drawing with trembling fingers, and for the first time, she smiled through her tears. The mother watched this exchange, something breaking open in her face. She moved to kneel beside Marcus. "Thank you," she breathed. "I'm Victoria. Victoria Ashworth. I panicked. I've never panicked like that." Sophie has cerebral palsy, and I'm usually so prepared, but tonight everything went wrong, and she covered her face with her hands. You did fine, Marcus said firmly. You got her out of the car. You kept her talking. That's what mattered. The ambulance arrived within minutes. As the paramedics worked, Victoria pulled Marcus aside. Her composure had returned somewhat, though her eyes were still red. I need to know your name. Your full name. I want to thank you properly. Marcus Chen. But really, you don't need to. I do. She pressed a business card into his hand. Please, call me tomorrow. I mean it. Marcus nodded, pocketing the card without looking at it. He gathered Lily up, and they finally caught their bus home. 3 days later, Marcus sat in an office that occupied the entire top floor of a downtown high-rise, feeling completely out of place in his warehouse uniform. Victoria Ashworth sat across from him, looking like a completely different person, composed, polished, powerful. I should have introduced myself properly, she said quietly. I'm the CEO of Ashworth Technologies. And I've spent the last 3 days thinking about that night. Marcus shifted uncomfortably. Look, if this is about money, I really didn't do anything. You did everything. Victoria's voice cracked slightly. You know what it's like, carrying a child who depends on you completely. You recognized that panic, didn't you? Because you live it every day with your daughter. Marcus thought of Lily, of the nights he'd stayed up worrying about bills, about whether he was enough for her. Yeah, he said softly. I guess I do. Victoria opened a folder. Sophie was fine, by the way. Fractured tibia, but she's already in physical therapy. She asks about Lily constantly. She slid papers across the desk. Marcus, I'm offering you a position. VP of Community Relations. It's a real job with real responsibilities, not charity. We're launching a program to make our technology accessible to people with disabilities, and I need someone who understands what it means to fight for the people others overlook. Marcus stared at the salary figure. It was more than he'd made in the last 3 years combined. I can't, this is too much. You gave my daughter a miracle that night, Victoria said, and now tears were streaming down her face. You gave her comfort when she was in pain. You made her laugh on what should have been the worst birthday of her life. Your daughter gave her a rainbow and called it good luck. She wiped her eyes. Let me give you both something back. Let me give your daughter the life you've been breaking your back to provide. Marcus looked at the contract, then at Victoria's face, and saw not a billionaire, but a mother who understood exactly what it meant to love a child so much it hurt. When do I start? He asked. 6 months later, Marcus stood in Victoria's backyard at Sophie's 9th birthday party, watching Lily and Sophie race wheelchairs across the grass, shrieking with laughter. Victoria appeared beside him, holding 2 glasses of lemonade. Thank you, she said simply. For seeing us as people first that night. Not as a disabled girl and a rich woman who had everything figured out. Just as 2 human beings who needed help. Marcus smiled, watching his daughter's face glow with joy. Thank you for seeing me the same way. Not as charity, but as someone with something to offer. They stood in comfortable silence, watching their daughters play, bound together by a rainy night when kindness had bridged the gap between 2 different worlds and changed everything. Sometimes miracles don't come from wealth or power. Sometimes they come from a man standing in the rain with nothing but a good heart and the instinct to help when someone else is falling. And sometimes, when we reach out to catch others, we find ourselves lifted up too.